Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Risa Paskoff. I'm with Aaron's Acres. I'm the executive director. Hi, Linda. I don't believe we've met. I'm Danielle. We obviously go back a few years. I'm thrilled to have this seminar tonight. Let me just tell you a little bit about Aaron's Acres. We are a nonprofit organization and we provide year-round recreational programs to individuals ages 5 to 21, with us expanding this year to age 40. So we will be doing a lot more programs, year-round, meaningful programs that are age appropriate for people with different types of abilities and disabilities. But tonight is not about Aaron's Acres. So I would like to introduce, or just turn the seminar over to Joanna and to Karen. They will introduce themselves. I just want to say Joanna has done seminars for us for quite some time. And what came out of some of the seminars was just really the need to do one specifically on the PA-able program. So I'm thrilled to have this tonight. I think it's really valuable information, and I'm just going to turn it over to Joanna now, and then you can turn it over to Karen and get this going. So thank you.
Awesome. I'm so excited. So this is our my first time doing the ABLE presentation with Karen. First, I would say presentation for ABLE, and first also with Karen, who I absolutely adore. I was telling Risa earlier that we met years ago at a resource fair and just had a really just phenomenal connection. And I'm so glad that we have her here tonight. She's the true expert in the room. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Joanna Craney. Our company is called Empowered Financial Strategies, and we have a primary focus in helping families who are raising a child with special needs navigate those financial complexities, both for their own retirement and for their children's future quality of life and care management. And, ABLE is a conversation that we're talking about in all of our, in our meetings with our clients, because we do use it as part of our strategy. So without further, and just a little background about me, like why am I even here? I've been around personally the disability community my whole life. I grew up with two sisters with different disabilities. My one sister had Down syndrome. My other sister had severe mental health and addiction. And unfortunately, I've lost both of them. But I've learned a lot over the years, both from a sibling perspective and as the daughter, learned a lot from my parents as well. And now I'm raising my niece, and she also has special needs. So from a caregiver's perspective, I also understand and navigating all of these challenges with you. And so my mission is to really get in front of as many families as possible, to get all of this really important information out to families so that they can also understand how to move the needle forward and how to plan for the best future for both themselves and for their children. And I'm going to pass it over to Karen, and she's going to introduce herself.
Thank you so much. And it's my absolute pleasure to be here. But this is going to be, I think, my very favorite time that I've ever presented on ABLE, because Joanna is a rare individual, especially as a person, as a human being, but also in the financial field. And for her to put this forward and be there for individuals who have family members with special needs and and disabilities, she has the pulse, really the pulse of what those families need. And she is committed to making their lives as much better as possible. So for me, this is a real special occasion. And the heart of me goes back to when I first started working with individuals with disabilities, and I did that, or different abilities. I did that for 20 years. I worked with adolescent girls for a good part of that, which that's tough just to begin with, but then when they have special needs, it's really can be a challenge. And then with young men, and then I worked with the adult population, from autistic to behavior challenges, all of those things. And I did that for 20 years. And one of the things that was frustrating to me was that at the transition age, when they would be let out into the community, the thing that they did not have was that secure financial basis many times. They might be receiving SSI or SSDI, but then going out into the community with just that, even back then it was, you could have $2,000 to your name. Well, that hasn't changed in 40 years. You could only have $2,000 and keep your SSI. So for me, when I left that job, that was a real difficult thing. And finally, who knew that I was going to eventually work for the Treasury, which is what I do now. And I've spent my last 15 to 16 years doing this, that PA Able would come along. And once PA Able came along, I said, well, why so long? But finally, there's something now that exists that allows people to, with differing abilities and the families who manage those accounts and financial worries, that they can now have a tool in their toolbox that can really enable them. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I'm very grateful. Grateful to you, Joanna, grateful to you, Risa, and to all of you for being here tonight. So we can go on this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Risa, for hosting this.
Of course.
All right, should we get started? The next screen is our disclosures. So we have to put on everything. And so that's there for compliance purposes. So we must show you that. All right. So ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. And so today's program is really an overview of what this program can offer. If you have someone in your life that has a disability, and let's say they're on needs-based benefits, and we got to protect those benefits. So what we're going to cover today is, what is ABLE, who's eligible to use this account, how do you open and manage an ABLE account, what investment and checking options do you have inside of the ABLE account, methods to contribute and withdraw from the ABLE account. If you are withdrawing funds from the ABLE account, what are qualified withdrawals, and just some additional considerations that we want to be mindful of. And so what is an ABLE account? So this is really a way, as Karen mentioned, for a person who is on certain needs-based benefits, especially, a way for them to save and also protect those benefits. And particularly tonight, we're going to be talking about the Pennsylvania program. ABLE does have programs across our United States. I forget how many we're up to at this point. But for today's purposes, we're talking about Pennsylvania because we are residents of Pennsylvania, and there's some tax incentives because we're Pennsylvania residents. And so not only can a person save their own funds, but anyone can actually contribute to fund an ABLE account. Even if they don't have a disability, they can add funds to their loved one's ABLE account. And as I mentioned, there's these programs out there that are what we call needs-based benefits. So there's certain limitations to them. Resource, you can't be over a specific asset limit. So for example, if you're receiving SSI, you can't have more than $2,000 in your name. So these programs are protected if you use an ABLE account and you go over that $2,000 asset limit. So moving forward, and for medical assistance purposes as well, there's housing programs that are out there. If you're using the ABLE account, those benefits will be protected, and that's why we want to use them. And so what it allows our individuals to do is to contribute up to, this year, the amount is up to $18,000 in contributions. And if you're working, you can actually contribute even more. And we'll get to that in a little bit because there's been some updates to the Able to Work program. And you can actually contribute up to a total of, the balance can be up to 100,000 without affecting those needs-based benefits. Now, people say, well, what if my account goes over $100,000? Most likely what we would want to do if you're still receiving SSI is we would want to spend down those assets in some form or fashion, because most people want to maintain their SSI eligibility. So SSI would be suspended, but it would not be terminated. And Karen, if I'm saying anything out of context,
No, you're
if I
right.
get anything wrong, you just call me out. I'm okay with it.
No, you've got this 100% correct. 100%.
Now the thing is, with the PA Able account, if you're not receiving SSI, you can actually save more money inside of these Able accounts. You can actually save it, so like over 500,000 at this point. And so not everybody that's on disability is receiving SSI. Some of our individuals are receiving SSDI or Social Security Disability Income. So they can actually save more. And these funds can be used for a wide range of expenses. So they're able to save, they're able to grow those assets. And what's even greater is that they can take out the funds on a tax-free basis as long as it's a qualified disability-related expense.
That's very well put. That's exactly how it works.
Awesome. Like I said, I mean, this conversation comes up in most of our meetings because people want to learn more about how they can use them. And so the tax benefits are pretty cool. So individuals will not pay any federal or PA income tax on the growth. It's similar to the 529 plan. So if you're familiar with these college savings plan, it's actually under the IRS code 529A. And so the account balance can grow. And when you take the income out, including earnings, it's tax-free, which is
You don't pay taxes on it. That's just money back in your pocket.
Yeah, which is great. And so again, we're going to get to this, but it's how do we utilize this account in a strategic way? So, and like I said, there's a wide range of expenses you can use it for, like housing. This is something that's such a hot topic that we talk about, but you can use your ABLE account for housing. And again, there's nuances there and details in how you want to do that, but it is an expense that can be covered. And if you're a Pennsylvania resident, you can deduct the contributions from PA income tax. The other benefit from a tax perspective is that the assets are excluded from Pennsylvania inheritance tax. So both the principal and the earnings are excluded from Pennsylvania inheritance tax. And if you were not aware of what that looks like, if you could probably just Google Pennsylvania inheritance tax, and you'll find that, yes, if you're a resident of Pennsylvania and you're passing on assets to anyone other than your spouse, there's inheritance taxes that are going to be due. However, this account is excluded. It's also protected from creditors. So there are other protections there. Okay, so eligibility. Who is eligible to use a PA ABLE account? So right now, as it stands, in order to be eligible to use this account, you have to have what they call as a qualifying disability that started prior to your 26th birthday. The good news is that on January 1st of 2026, they're expanding this age to 46, which is great because what they realize is there's a lot of individuals out there with disabilities, especially veterans, right?
Yes.
Who really need this as a resource in their world. So the program is expanding as of January 1st, 2026, which is really great news. And the account owners, if they're receiving SSI or SSDI, they're eligible to use this account. But some people are not on these benefits, but they are disabled. So you can self-certify with a doctor basically signing off that they meet a certain standard for disability. They don't require it for account opening, but if you get audited, you're going to have to provide that evidence and documentation in order to use the account to its full benefits. Did I miss anything there, Karen?
I would say that that's right on target too. One thing I would add is that people may be eligible to receive SSI or SSDI, but they might not be using it, right? They
Right,
might still be eligible, but they don't take it.
right,
So those people are also able to open this account, and the account belongs to the person with the disability.
right. Yeah, and the other thing is, some people ask, well, can I have more than one ABLE account? And the answer is no. You are able to have one ABLE account nationwide. And if, let's just say, you open up an account in Washington State, right? And now you're a Pennsylvania resident, you can actually transfer your Washington State ABLE account to the Pennsylvania ABLE account. And why would you want to do that? It's really, to get that extra benefit of using a PA ABLE account to get the tax benefit. So the other thing you can transfer is 529 accounts. 529 accounts, you can roll over into a ABLE account up to the contribution limits for the year.
Right. There is another benefit that wasn't mentioned yet, and I don't know if it's in the next slides, but another benefit of having a PA ABLE account that other states don't offer is that we're going to talk about Medicaid a little bit, but there is a Medicaid benefit in terms of the fact that Medicaid can't come back in
That's
and
right.
take any monies from someone who's used, like say they were age 5 and they started using the Medicaid benefits from age 5 to age 55. When Medicaid tries to come back and take those monies back, it's called the Medicaid clawback. They try to take some of those monies back from the estate. They can't in Pennsylvania between the ages of what time they started using them to the age of 55. They can only take a look back at age 55 and later as to when those people use those Medicaid services. I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little.
Yeah, and from what I understand too, is even in Pennsylvania, at post 55, that Pennsylvania cannot directly go into the ABLE account and call
Exactly.
it back. They have to, it would have to, an estate would have to be opened.
Exactly. And
Right?
then
So,
once
like,
it's in the
let's say there's
estate,
final expenses that need
you
to
could
be,
use them right out of the ABLE account.
right. All right, let's move on to that's a great
Right.
point.
Perfect. Oh, that's me.
That's you.
I'm going to talk about how easy it is to open an ABLE account. It really, really is. Most people will go right online, and it's absolutely free to open the account. And you can go online and you can fill everything out right online. You can save your application if you come across anything that you need to go look up or whatever as you do it. But there's just a set of questions that might take you about 20 minutes. Remember that the account, it says 15 minutes here. I'll give you 20 minutes. But have, that person who's opening the account, if they can do it for themselves, have them open it themselves and you could assist. Or if they're 18 or younger, you can open it for them. Or you can also have another authorized individual on any of the accounts, as long as you would need to do that. So somebody can be an authorized individual on the account belongs to the individual with the disability. So that's going to be about them when you open that account. If you don't want to do it online, you can download the forms online and fill them out and send everything in. Or, for example, we have some individuals who are blind. We do have Braille versions of the application. And we also can send an application out. If somebody wanted to call us, we could send you the application. But it really is pretty simple to fill this out and answer those questions that you need. Like you would need a permanent address, not just a post office box. There's going to be a set of disability questions that you're going to answer. specific to the disability that the person has. And then you're going to choose some investments or how you want to manage that money. And we're available, that 855 number, good number to call if you have any questions when you're filling this out. So you might want to do it during the week, from your home when you have that person available, just in case. So that's how
I have a
easy it is.
question.
Yes.
Is there an age minimum for the person with the disability, as long as they qualify with the SSIRS, right? So it's not,
That's
it could be at
correct.
any age. Okay.
Yes, we've had Down syndrome, people with all kinds of abilities open them at a very young age,
Okay.
very young. Age 1, 2, 3. Mhm.
Thank you.
Good question. So once you open the account and it's in the person with the disability, you're going to need to figure out, well, how am I going to put the money in here? Where's it going to come from and how's it going to go on? Well, you're going to choose within that time period of when you're setting up the account, if you want to have a checking account, which is part of the PA Able account, and if you want to have investments. But you can contribute within that account. You're going to have like a bank account that you're going to be able to see and manage, that you can connect other bank accounts to. Okay, so that you could have direct deposit, or you can mail in a check, or you can do money order. And then a lot of people like myself, this is like a 529 plan, as Joanna mentioned. I have my money coming directly from my payroll, from a paycheck. So it can come from there as well. And there are individuals who are working and out in the community who have money coming from that paycheck that they're making right into their ABLE account. So all of those things are very possible. If somebody is a representative payee, for example, for an individual that has this ABLE account, they can be the authorized individual in the account, and they can also have that Social Security, that representative payee can have that SSI go directly into the ABLE account, as long as they're an authorized individual on the account, automatically. And as Joanna said, anyone can make a contribution. Anybody. I already contribute to a friend's account that has an ABLE account, and I get the tax deduction from that. But that's not my reason for contributing, obviously. But I like to do that on like for their birthday, for Christmas. I give them a nice little gift. And it's very easy to do within the account. There's a little gift box that people simply click on, and that sends out a code to the individual who wants to contribute, and then they can electronically contribute at any time, or they can mail in a check. The best thing to do is if you're going to give money to somebody who is on these benefits, you want to make sure it goes directly to the ABLE account and isn't considered an asset then, and would then mess up their SSI or SSDI. You want it to go directly to the ABLE account. And if I say anything wrong, Joanna.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I just want to mention, I think it's worth the conversation. Because when I think about the $18,000 limit, it's always part of the conversation. So what I mean by that is, let's just say you want to contribute, I don't know, let's just say $1,000, and that person's also working.
Yes.
And so we have to factor in that we have to have enough wiggle room by the end of the year so that we're not stuck with no place for the dollars to go.
True.
Right?
Good point. Good point.
So when,
Now, if they're working and they can contribute, they can contribute above that 18,000 as long as they are not part of a defined contribution plan.
That's right. And I think we have that in, yep, we actually have that next on our slides coming up. So that is a really good point. And so, and sometimes it's, if a person came into some assets, an inheritance accidentally, then this is a great place to park those funds. But again, we always need to have our eye on the ball forward. Like, we need to make sure that we're not going to run out of that wiggle room for the year, and be stuck with, okay, now how do we spend down funds or get rid of assets, right? So it's always worth the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. Thank goodness. Thank goodness, yes. Okay, so able account owners can contribute. This is the Able to Work Act that we're talking about. They can contribute above that annual limit. Now, that limit of $18,000 over time, I've seen that go from 14,000 to 15,000 to 16,000, now to 18,000 because it's tied to that 529 code, right? That IRS code. With the limits. I'm sorry, not the IRS code, not the 529 code. It's tied to the
Gifting, right?
gifting,
About-
the federal gift tax. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
My brain is scrambled by this
Yeah,
time of day to the gift code. So that will get changed from on occasion. And as that tends to go up, so does the able account amount that you can put in there. But we don't always know that, but that's how it's at 18,000 right now. And if they're employed, if that person is employed, they haven't contributed to the 401k or defined contribution plan, or annuity contract or deferred compensation during the tax year. We're talking about during the tax year, then they can contribute above that annual limit, which brings people to a nice amount, perhaps, it might bring them to 30,000 that they're putting in instead of 18,000, right? Or 28,000, like close to that. In a year, because it really adds up. Right now, it could be 32,580 for 2024
Yeah,
that they could
right.
potentially put in.
All right.
So that really can get you up to that $100,000, maybe a lot quicker than
Mhm.
normal.
And remember too, is that, and we're going to talk about this next, is if you're investing, that account could grow a lot quicker than we anticipated.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I love that there's that potential, right? It's not just sitting in just a regular savings account where you can't make earnings. As we know, we like to make our money work for us,
Right.
right? And here's where there is the opportunity for people to actually take advantage of potential growth by choosing among these options. And Diane and Joanna, thank you so much for being available to help people make these decisions within the able accounts, because often people are maybe afraid, or they don't understand them, or they think it's going to be, no, too much going on. I can't think about that. You are there. These are here for people to be able to take advantage of. We have these 6 asset allocation options. They are like pies with various mixes of, as you see here, stocks, bonds, cash investments. And we have aggressive options, moderately aggressive, the growth option, moderately conservative, and a conservative option that people can take one of these, or they can take all 6 of these and make them like a diverse way for them to grow this money that they're putting in there, or invest that money that they're putting in there to work for them. And what is really nice about these is that you can find the underlying funds. We do set these up through the Treasury, but they're a mix of Sallie Mae and Vanguard and BlackRock, which are well-known financial institutions. And we put these together so that people can utilize them to their best ability. And you can change this. You can designate another option for your contributions during a calendar year. These are calendar year options. And your next slide is actually your checking option,
Yep.
which is another great
And
thing. Do you want to go into that a little further?
Well, just on the investment side. So I think this is a question that often comes up. It's like, well, how do I allocate these dollars? And it really just depends on what are the expenses now? What are some of the future anticipated expenses? And, sometimes we're using a bucketing approach. So if we have short-term needs, right, we're going to keep that money in cash.
Right.
Right. But if we have, let's just say we anticipate a future expense, that could be, it could be an accessible van. It could be a piece of equipment. It could be, whatever have you in the near term, like let's say 2 to 5 years, then maybe we can put it in a conservative our moderate conservative portfolio. So, and then for like maybe longer anticipated expenses in a more aggressive portfolio. We never want to be too risky, right? And need those dollars near term. So it's really like what are the needs now? What are the anticipated needs in the next few years? And like what's kind of the long-term goal there? And that's how we would allocate
Right.
the funds.
Think about your younger child, right? You have a 2, 3, 4-year-old, right? A 5-year-old, and then you've got this real good window of time to start really investing for those years after they're 18, when they might be, maybe they're going to be living in their own housing eventually, right? Or they're going to be needing something, maybe
Right.
even different. So really great opportunities there to have that variety and to have Joanna to help you
And
put
it's
that
low
in order.
cost. Like when we're comparing
Yes.
these, they're using low
Oh, yeah.
cost mutual
Very low
funds.
cost.
And so you're not getting hit with large fees on these fund expenses.
Yeah, more money in your pocket, really.
Right.
So there's the FD on top of these investments that are there. This is what you're talking about with your short-term needs, that you can use this PA-able checking option. This would be on top of those 6 investments. There's this checking account that comes with a debit card. This is with Fifth Third Bank. It is, they have this debit card that you can use all over. There are ATMs. If you look on the website, there are 55,000 Fifth Third Bank partner ATMs. So you're going to find some here in Pennsylvania, Wawa's, I think, are some of them. So you can go and use that card to get cash out interest free. But you can also use that card to buy things at Kohl's or, wherever your needs may be, Target, grocery store. There's a monthly service charge of $2 that's waived with electronic statements. So I I recommend that if you're trying to save money. And then an average monthly balance in the account of at least $250 and no overdraft or return payment fees. So there are pluses and minuses, of course, to having this. I think that it's very handy if you're out and about and you need some quick things picked up, that this is a good way to have that cash on hand or that money available. The accounts are free to open. There is a maintenance fee of $14.50 quarterly for those who do the postal delivery, but electronically you're going to save money, right? It's only going to be $8.25 with the e-delivery. So I would try to elect that option if you can. And then the asset-based fees, as Joanna was saying, they're really quite low. The range of 0.30% to 0.33%. So that's the basic range on those. I think I was looking at the moderate one was 0.32. So you have that as a real potentially good start to your investing. And then we have the option fees if you buy checks. It's either $2 or 0% based on what we mentioned before about whether you elect to have electronic statements. And what else did I want to say about this? I feel like there may be one other thing I wanted to mention about the fees. Oh, with the checking account, for example, if you want to get checks with that, there is a fee for checks. It's $6, I think, for a pack of checks. I don't know how many people use checks these days, but occasionally.
Okay, that's good
I
to
wanted
know.
to mention that. And when you have started your account, you've funded your account, you've got the money going in, you're deciding how you're going to utilize that money in your account, then you're going to want to be able to take it out. Well, of course, with the check you can do, right? Or the ATM. Somebody can write us a letter and we'll send you a check. That's happened, believe me. You can call that number on the phone and we'll release the funds, whatever you need. and have it sent to you. And also online is very convenient because you can just do automatic electronic check withdrawals that way. Very simple that way, which is the way I've been doing my banking now. I had to learn it because I'm old, had to learn how to do it, but that's how I pretty much do everything now. It's too impossible to get somebody by phone, except not us. You can get a
That's
real person
true.
with us,
That's
but
true.
anywhere else,
And you are
can't
not
get 'em.
old. You are not old, Karen.
So, do you want me to do this part? Yeah, I think this was me, wasn't I? I'm
Yep,
sorry,
sure.
we talked about this early. So the eligible expenses. So I often say, when you really boil it down, it's about anything but gambling. Gambling, you can't really take it to the casino and use it for that, but just about everything else um, is important. Like your basic living expenses, that's a lot of different things, right? And they don't have to be, as it says here, medically necessary or for the sole benefit of the eligible individual. I mean, hang on to the receipts, but it could be a television set for the whole house. It could be a computer for the whole house. It could be that this person needs to get away, they need a vacation, they're going to take somebody with them on that vacation because they need to have someone with them. And it could help to pay for those expenses because that is for the prevention and wellness and health of that individual. It may be mental health, but it is important for all of us. We all need those things. If you're asked, they're going to say, well, why did you need this? And you're going to explain this was important to us, right? You can use your ABLE account for qualified expenses where you're not going to pay taxes on your withdrawal, right? You're not going to pay taxes on the earnings on the withdrawal that you make for education, housing. I'm going to give you some ideas about that. Transportation, employment training and support, your legal fees, health, prevention and wellness, financial management, which is, you can help pay Joanna with these things, right? Administrative services, assistive technology, often very important for individuals to be able to have the money for those things, personal support, and expenses for oversight and monitoring. And then also, as we mentioned earlier, at the end of someone's life, instead of just having that money sit in the account, and will roll into the estate eventually, if there's things left, but pay for those important things like funeral and burial expenses. Pay on any bills that are still outstanding. Use the account to pay for all those things that might still be there that need to be taken care of before rolling that into the estate. Very important. I want to mention housing for one thing. I wanted to mention how important that is. I'm looking at what it says under housing.
Yeah, there's an important thing that and I was just looking at that earlier about
Yeah,
taking the dollars out and using them within the same month of
you
withdrawal.
need to do that within the same month. That's right. If you take it out on June 3rd, you want to use it by June 30th, right? And that goes for anything that would be non-qualified, but specifically for SSI, housing is one of those things that you want to keep that in. And we have a really, really nice piece on our website under benefits. If you go to the PA ABLE website and you look under the benefits, and you'll see the facts, the FAQs. And under there, you're going to get the answers to a lot of your questions. But one of the things that it also mentions is that housing benefits include such things, not just the mortgage. It includes real estate and property taxes. It includes rent, heating, fuel, gas, water, sewer, garbage removal. All of those things are included under housing. So all of those things you would need to make payments in within the same month as well. Does that make sense?
Real sense.
It can be used for all of those things. So This is the Medicaid information we were talking about earlier. So federal ABLE law permits a state to file a claim against an ABLE account, and this is in almost all your other states, right? For Medicaid paid during the time the beneficiary had an ABLE account. But ABLE law prohibits it, PA ABLE law, right? Not all ABLE law, but PA ABLE law. We had this legislated with our PA ABLE. So some people from other states will get a PA ABLE account because they want to take advantage of some of this. However, federal Medicaid law requires that the Department of Human Services come in to seek repayment of medical assistance from the estate if the beneficiary is 55 or older when he or she died. This is an ABLE account. They can do that at a much younger age, right? For services used at a much younger age in other states, but not in Pennsylvania. Now, they can come in whether or not the person had an ABLE account and take back that money. But if they have this ABLE account, that will prohibit them from taking it until they've used those services after the age of 55. And this is for nursing facility services, home and community-based services, related hospital and prescription drug services. Payment is totally delayed when the deceased account owner is survived by a spouse, a child under 21, or a disabled child of any age. Okay, so that's really important to note.
Yeah, I think that's a big benefit of using the PA ABLE
It
account.
really is. It can be, certainly, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, when we talk about first party special needs trusts all the time, you know, we talk about the Medicaid payback inside
Yep.
the first party special needs trust.
Yes, I mean, this is part of life, right? Death and taxes.
Yeah.
But this was really a bunch of smart people just put their heads together and said, look, we're just not going to do that here in Pennsylvania. We're going to legislate this in. And they did, and we do, and this is a really nice benefit that we can offer. So once, yeah,
Oops,
so that's
sorry.
basically how, no, that's really all. That's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we use it in planning? As I mentioned before, you know, if we know that there's some type of qualified expense that's coming up, parents, you know, if they're, you know, parents can make a contribution and then take it right back out, and they get the PA state income tax deduction, which is nice. As I mentioned before, if we know that there's upcoming expenses in the future, we can kind of create a strategy there and say, let's start saving in a more strategic way, whether that's, you know, like I mentioned it before, cash for the near term, and invest appropriately across the different risk tolerances based upon those, the time horizon for those future expenses. The other thing that often happens is if the individual is on the cusp of the resource of $2,000 asset limit federally, then what we can do is start shifting assets over from their account to the ABLE account. So, and this happens often, especially if you know, individuals are working or they're not spending down enough assets from their SSI check. You know, we want to take money over and put it into the ABLE account. Spend down needs. So sometimes what happens is that individuals incidentally get a, you know, a big birthday check or an inheritance. And again, we're trying to figure out ways, how do we spend down these assets? If we can't spend them down on a current need, right, within that same month, we're transferring assets over to the ABLE account. All the while still thinking through, like, how much wiggle room do I have left? You know, January, February, March, we want to make sure that we have wiggle room left for November, December, you know, October, November, December. And so we always have our eye on the ball with that. Sometimes people are using these accounts to pay for the legal fees. So oftentimes when we're working with attorneys and attorneys charge a fee to write special needs trusts, well, guess what? Those fees can be paid out of the ABLE account. Financial fees. So if you're working with a financial advisor that's charging a fee for their service related to special needs planning or their own planning, you can take funds out of the ABLE account, and that can also be used as a qualified disability expense. So these are some of the different ways. They're certainly probably not all, but when we're working with individuals, we're really thinking about what is their specific need? What's going on right now? What do we expect to go on in the future? And, one of the things that Karen and I were talking about earlier is most of the time people aren't opening these accounts until they are 18 plus, right? But if you have a child with severe needs and you're spending, I know people are spending a crazy amount. My dog's coming to say hi. An exorbitant amount on therapies. Why not utilize the ABLE account? And again, like, it's not like you're getting, I know it's not a huge deduction, but it's something. It could be over $500 back in your pocket. That's something. That's probably could be one therapy session, right?
Absolutely.
So again, like, and utilizing it from an earlier age when we know that there is going to be expenses in the future, and look at how that money can kind of compound over time. We always talk about, the compound effect of money, and how the earlier you start saving, right, the better off you are because it has time to grow. And so these accounts are not just meant for those that are 18 plus. These accounts can and should be used if we know we're going to have these expenses. Use them from a young age. Open them up when they're young.
Absolutely.
So that's my own 2 cents there. Here are some resources for you. Certainly recommend you go on paable.gov. You have a contact number here, the 855 number. And for more information, about us, you can certainly reach out to us, whether you go through our website, which is listed here, or go to our, just contact us by email. So what questions does anybody have about the ABLE account?
Danielle, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a quick question. My son has autism and he's not receiving any type of funds or anything like that. Like, that probably won't happen until he's 18. So is that when we would open up the account, when he turns 18?
This is what I hear so much, because that is when they start to receive those services, but you certainly can open the account earlier and consider funding it earlier, so that what happens, Danielle, often when I'm going out in the field and I'm talking to parents, I'm at the transition meetings with these individuals, and they are also applying for SSI and they're not getting it right away. They have to do it again and again, right?
Right.
For their disability. And then they're also thinking, okay, I'm going to open this ABLE account, but it does not have to be that way. If they'd opened the ABLE account ahead of time, they'd already have that started and going. And then, they can go ahead and apply for the SSI. Whatever's in the ABLE account isn't looked at as an asset by SSI, right? So that monies can be in there already. But I don't want to take Joanna's steam away from her, because she may want to sit down and actually look at, what that future might look like for your son, and really help you decide, well, this is the time to do it now, or maybe let's wait till here. But she really is going to be the one to help you make that best decision. I just say that it's not too early.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's always like worth a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, there's aunts, uncles, there's grandparents sometimes who say, hey, we would like to do something for Susie or Pete, or, and we would like, we would like to give a gift, and this could be a way to set some money aside in a protected way.
Okay. And I just had, they're kind of like follow-up questions. So that was number 1. Number 2 would be, we have established a special needs trust like years and years ago. It has no money in it. It's just, established. So, like, if somebody was going to leave him money, would you still leave it to the special needs trust and then like transfer it to the ABLE account?
I think it
Or if we
depends.
had the ABLE account established, they would leave it to the ABLE account?
I think it depends on the amount that we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
and the type of money that's going to be left. Like, what asset is it? Is it cash? Is it a retirement account? Is it life insurance? Is it so all of those things go into consideration when we're trying to decide how do we leave these assets in the most tax efficient way possible. And so, and special needs trusts are great. And some people think that the ABLE account takes precedent or vice versa. No, you use them in conjunction. You use them together. The power is in using these different resources together. So I think it's worth a conversation before that decision would be made.
Absolutely.
And then
they're very powerful together. Very
And
powerful.
then one more question is that we have a college account, you know, that we set up for him. He's 15 now, but we had set it up, you know, when he was born. So obviously, most likely that money is not going to be used for college. So that could be possibly something that would get rolled over into the ABLE account.
Tax-free rollover. Now you would have to roll it over. I don't know how much you have in the account, but that could only be at maximum 18,000
Right.
per year. And you'd have to do that over time. So,
Right.
you know, Joanna, being the financial person, could certainly help you decide what's the best way to do that with the taxes in mind.
Like right now, we stopped funding the account, but obviously it's has money in it, so it is growing just because. So like if you were at that point, if it was more than 18, you could transfer some of it over 1 year and then leave the rest and then transfer the rest over or whatever the following year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you can also, just so you know, on 529 accounts, you can change the beneficiary.
Yes, you can.
So like, let's just say there's somebody else that could use it. And so maybe we allocate other funds to your other son, or, you know, so there's ways and there's options there. So, but certainly you can absolutely transfer over that account to the ABLE account.
Yes, it's a rollover, basically. Not from between beneficiaries, you know, in the account. You can just certainly do that.
We would our two other kids are completely grown and on their own, so we would leave it like for him, you know, for money to use down the road.
Right.
Yeah, and I suppose you never know. Maybe he'll take college courses or something down the road. You never know, right? Or whatever. And even the ABLE account could be used for those things.
Okay.
If you decided to do that, it wouldn't be. Yeah, it's all very possible. Good questions.
Okay.
Really
So
good
I just have a question. With opening up the PA ABLE account, there was talk before, I thought you said that it was demonstrated by entitlement to either SSI or SSDI or self
certified.
It would go to a doctor who would, you know, write a little note and sign it that says they have a disability that is causing them to, there's some SSI or Social Security terminology that the doctor would use, and just simply write that note and sign it. And we don't have to see it for them to open the account, but you would want to hang on to that note from the doctor.
That would be it. I mean, that's all that a person needs.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and SSA has their own, if you look up, like the SSA administration has its own language when it comes to determining what they consider a disability, because what they're looking at is function. And there's two different definitions, under 18 and post 18. But basically that this disability is going to continue for at least the next 12 months or result in death.
Right.
So there is language there, and which would want to be used, I'm assuming,
by that doctor.
So there really is no reason why someone can't do it at a very young age, because they're not really needing to qualify for SSI or SSD. It really is a doctor saying this. Okay. Yeah.
And if that change, you know, if that changes, then I suppose they can't have the able account anymore.
Right.
But
Right.
that's just not something that I see happening.
Right. That's
So,
good.
Are there any other questions?
Hi there.
Hi, Linda. So nice
Hi.
to see you.
Nice to see you too. I had my cameras off. My dogs are going a little nuts. I had two questions. I'll start with number two. So Jay does have an ABLE account. When he had some money in a savings account a couple years ago, we opened the ABLE account, did the self-certification, and got that open. So someday, if that account ever did exceed 100,000, can you take some of that money and put it in his special needs trust?
No,
keep that
not his
stable?
third-party special needs trust, because
Okay.
third-party is anybody else's money.
Anybody else's? So would it make sense then for the gifting to go to the trust rather than the ABLE account?
Oh, that's another, I hate to
It's
say
tough
it,
one.
but it depends, conversation. And really, what we're looking at is, if there's ways to kind of spend down those assets. Now, by the
Mm.
time that happens, he could be on SSDI and not be on SSI,
If he's working, right?
right?
Not his own work
So
record.
that would
Mhm.
kind of eliminate that whole 100,000 cap.
Okay.
You'd actually have more in there.
Okay, so yeah, that's a whole nother SSI, the difference between SSI and SSDI and
So let me just explain it real quick. So the SSI, supplemental security income, think needs-based benefit. You have to be financially and medically needy of that benefit, right, to qualify for it. SSDI, Social Security Disability Income, that's an entitlement. And it's an entitlement because we've paid into Social Security. And whether it's us paying into Social Security, or sometimes, like if Jay's working, he's actually paying into Social Security, so that if he were disabled, he has an entitlement benefit that's coming back. The other way is the parents' work history. So, when the parent either retires or becomes disabled themselves, there's an entitlement to our adult children with disabilities. When the parent passes, there's an entitlement to our surviving adult children with disabilities. It's a whole separate system, and it's what we call entitlements because we've paid into it.
so
Okay.
far though, Jay doesn't have any work history, so he's got no Social Security history. So he'll start with SSI, and then when I retire, he can start claiming off of mine.
Correct.
SSDI. Mhm.
Okay, got that right?
Mhm.
Okay, my other question was, you talked about that checking option through the PA ABLE. How do you hook that up to the account that he already has? Like,
Okay.
it's not a separate account.
It's not a separate account. It's part of the account, but it
Okay.
is managed separately by Fifth Third Bank.
Okay.
So you would go into your account, and there should be an opportunity for you to select under your choices of where you're putting your money right now, your contributions. There should be a way to be able to select the checking account. And then you would redistribute your contributions so that some of it would go in there.
So it's investment options then?
It's under one of the investment options should be a thing that says checking account. Do you see it? Are you on there now?
I'm on there now. It says investment option change, systematic exchange program, change allocations for future contribution. So let me see what's in there.
Click on that and see
Oh,
if
there
it's
you go. Percent to checking account.
correct.
Gotcha. Oh, that's perfect.
That is perfect. That
Yeah,
easy.
very easy.
You like the easy button.
I like the easy button. Why not? Yeah.
All right, great. When is the PA ABLE account going to get the app where you can take a picture of the check and deposit it.
Oh, boy, I don't know. We were lucky to get PA-able in the first place, but wouldn't that be nice? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And the Venmo ability and all of that, catch up with all of those things, right?
Yeah,
And
so
you know-
when Jay gets a check, I take a picture of it, put it in my account, and then I transfer it over.
Because it's simple.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that would be nice. You know, when you're working with individuals with disabilities, there were a number of banks that were considered for this particular option, and there weren't a lot that were interested, to be honest with you,
Really?
because
Okay.
it was difficult. I'll be honest. I'll be completely candid with you. When you're dealing with their customer service at different banks, or some of the things that you run into, the general public is not always comfortable in those situations. And we were fortunate to find and have been working with a bank that is making themselves more comfortable with that. There are still glitches. Oh, I'm just being honest, candid, and 100% honest. There are glitches because they don't always understand the person on the end of the line has a hearing disability, or they don't understand somebody who maybe has autism, that can't concentrate, or can't communicate in a certain way with somebody over the phone. Does that make sense to you? I mean, this is what we've run into with the banking systems over time. And I don't know if you run into that at your local bank. You probably have a local bank you can walk into and go right up to the teller, and that's always a very comfortable thing. This is an online banking situation. So you want to keep that in mind, with the ABLE program, and you want to have, you might need to be that intermediary maybe, or not, depending on the abilities of the person who owns the account. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
One of the things that I think that, we didn't get to, it could be a whole nother presentation, is the advocacy for employers to contribute their match to PA ABLE. And I know that that's coming out
Next year.
next year. Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Well, we're hoping. I mean, there's legislation there. It's been approved at this level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got to get it past the next level.
Yeah.
So there's talk that it will happen, but I never count my chickens until they're
Until
right?
it's done. Yeah.
Yes,
Which would
but
be-
wouldn't that be great?
It would be great.